Oh my God, my stepdad was so funny yesterday. Oh, you guys, I watched this movie. It's really old, but I think you'll like it. It's about Nike and Michael Jordan. I'm like, that's not an old movie that just finished. He's like, what do you mean? All the cars are from the 80s. I thought it was from the 80s.
Just get old cars and put them in current movies and make it look like it was old.
Where do they get the parts?
Mike turned into Jackie Mason when he started telling that.
Who else do you want them to run the ball through?
Tatum was on one leg. I'm not doing this because soft, like just soft.
And I get annoyed sometimes with some of the cliches that everybody leans on.
That Miami team is an absolute cockroach.
Because they have dogs.
No,
we do not.
I got Patriots winning this year's Super Bowl.
All right.
I know it's too early, but I got us winning it, baby. Let's go.
All right.
I just can't get on this level of optimism today.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Fueled by Duncan.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Thursday here at Gillette Stadium, and it's video day.
Surprise return.
Just walks
I was
right
not
in.
expecting
What
right
timing?
In the start. Yeah, I had a doctor's appointment, 11:15, and I'm here.
Wow.
Wow.
Got all checked out?
Yep,
You
I'm
good?
all set.
All right.
Obviously, you did a lot of lying if they let you out.
No,
that
I've
quickly.
had ringing in my ear for the last couple of years. Yeah, no, and
I blame Paul.
it's gotten
last couple of years.
Well, yeah, and it's gotten worse, and so they did some ear. I'm
By
fine.
any chance did it start in 1999?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, then I'm okay, Deuce.
But so I just wanted to get it checked out.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right. All
Yeah.
right. I had a flat tire situation. I had a nail, didn't have it. I had to go get a fix there. So, getting stuff done.
You didn't have the Bridgestone Run flat tires.
That's what I was looking for. No,
Yeah.
I did not. And by the way, if you call Townford, they're like, yeah, next week. I'm like, I need a car. Like, so I took a local place and banged it out.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, what kind of tires did you get?
I didn't have to get new tires. Luckily, they just plugged,
they just
plugged her
plugged
up.
it?
They
Okay.
plugged her up. Yeah.
Anything from you, Paul? Any hardships?
Evan, serious football people like you and I were really more interested in the OTA yesterday,
Right.
but I guess we had to wait till the.
Right.
All right.
Right,
I guess
right.
we'll talk about that. It's Deuce, it's Evan, it's Paul, it's myself. We'll be here until 2 o'clock talking Patriots and whatever else. But, yes, the big topic is we had our first, and mind you, it's just our first, full look at practice with the OTAs yesterday. And so let's, whoever wants to jump in, give us your thoughts.
I'm ready to overreact.
All right,
Yeah.
let's
Let's
go.
overreact.
I know you love Taquan.
Let's not be afraid.
Thornton's your man right now, right?
I just like receivers. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
He looked good. He caught a lot of balls. Why don't we start with just Mac? I mean, I would just say overall, I thought it just looked, like he said normal. I felt normal. I liked how he talked in the post-practice interview. He just seemed a little bit like he's growing up a little bit, as he should, especially going through last season. So I thought he had a pretty good day overall, on the field, off the field. It was nice for an OTA, and I think he's on a
I
good
only
track.
saw a little bit of it because I had a meeting, so I saw like the first 15 minutes. It looks like he had a good bounce in his step.
Yeah, he seems engaged, and I mean, none of the stuff from last
That's
year.
what I wrote.
Yeah. Paul wrote it too, so it's true.
Yep.
So, yep.
Wow, that seemed like a shot.
I don't know.
You only write true things.
Seems like a bit of a shot there.
I don't know what
It's
it is.
not my first rodeo, but I know
I'm
that
gonna-
smirk.
I'm going to figure it out later.
And if I had just come from Mars and someone said, well, who's the starting quarterback in this team, I'd say that number 10 over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, definitely not Malik Cunningham.
Without question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there was some there was some talk yesterday with some of the recaps from our colleagues, and Bailey Zappi getting his share of first team reps, and
People said that?
more than one.
Really?
And it wasn't on the radio, it was people on the radio talking about what individuals had written. And I would say that Bailey Zappi was throwing the ball to what we would consider to be starters at times, but Mac Jones was clearly like no there was nothing gray in any way. Mac was clearly the guy yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
And
forgot
I
Bailey
did
Zappi
think-
was there.
You know who wasn't the guy was McSorley, because he was just throwing picks all over the place.
They
but-
should just play that song, the McSorley song. But he struggled. He's small. Trace McSorley is pretty small. That was a takeaway from that. But
throwing
I
picks
do
and
agree
sevens.
with the way Mike said it, with just the overall operation to me. And this is I understand it's a little nebulous, and sometimes people that really analyze the stuff, they want more something concrete to sort of solidify what you're talking about, and I don't have that for you. I'm just telling you, when I watched, I felt like there was a crispness to the way that everything operated.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were calling the plays, they were breaking the huddle. There was no. Kendrick Bourne, you need to come. You're not in that slot. You're in the slot on this.
yeah.
There was none of
Yeah.
that. The plays just ran. And I understand that they're all designed. I will go back to the first OTA and the second OTA we had last spring. The offense looked excellent. The offense didn't look like a disaster until training camp. So I understand, these practices are designed for the ball not to hit the ground a lot. That's the way it's supposed to look. But I just felt like the way it looked was different than last year, if that makes any sense at all. And I understand if you want to call me a fraud and say, well, you're just saying that because Bill O'Brien's here and you never gave Matt Patricia. You're right. I didn't think it was going to work last year, and I do think it will work this year. That said, I just felt like it looked different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looked like a professional practice.
Yeah.
It looked like a professional practice. It looked like offensively people knew what they were doing, knew where they were supposed to be going. Obviously, we can talk about some of the dressing up of the plays that Bill O'Brien was doing, which I thought was exciting. And overall, it ran a lot like a Josh McDaniels practice would have ran a couple years ago, or other experiences. And the other thing I think that really stood out, Paul just kind of mentioned it there wasn't a whole lot of coaching in between plays and it wasn't like Bill O'Brien was standing in the middle of the field while everything was going on around him and correcting guys every single timeout. He was actually on the sideline for a lot of the team drill portions, calling the plays in, radioing the plays in with the walkie-talkie, and him and Bill were very hands off. Bill didn't really say anything to anybody.
That was as
practice.
hands off as I've seen Bill in a long time.
Yeah.
So let me ask the question. So they've had how many practices before this?
Not very many.
A few
Right, so
last week.
I think
Like,
only 2.
Yeah.
How did they get on the same page so quickly?
I think that there's a combination of things, like the carryover from McDaniels, I think is there for a lot of the guys that were here in 21. So you're talking about a lot of the guys that were out there, honestly. Kendrick Bourne, Mack, obviously, some of the offensive linemen were there in 21. So I think there was a little bit of that going on, that the language and the lingo was pretty similar to what they were used to. But overall, that was what stood out to me from an operation standpoint, was just the cleanliness of the whole thing, and also second to that, just the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of in between coaching going on, and that usually
Corrections.
corrections. And when we get into training camp, that's usually what they do towards the end of practice. They'll always basically make it a game situation where the coaches go to the sideline. Bill kind of waves a flag and is like, "Hey, we're not good. Let's let them go."
Well,
there was already stuff like that going on.
Do you think there's any chance that as early as February, these iPads have been populated, and it's been made clear that by the time you get here, we expect you to know a certain amount, and it's all on your iPad. Start studying now, even though we can't get together officially. And here's what you're going to, and maybe that part of it is more buttoned up than it was last year when you had 2 guys who were probably still working on
figuring
this
it
stuff.
out on the
Right,
fly.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. Hard to say. I think we'll find out when we get to mini camp a little bit. Maybe you'll amp the voltage a tiny bit, but that'll be really training camp. I think when you really figure out how much they're all on the same page. But just to highlight a couple guys, Thornton. We talked a lot about him the last couple of days. He caught a lot of balls, looked good. Douglas was very active. I think that was a little bit Juju not being there, getting a chance. Ty Montgomery just continues to be effective, and they get the ball to him. He works with the receivers a little bit. He works with the running back. So I thought he was going to be a big part of it last year, and I think he'll be a big part of it this year.
And Ivan has said, Ivan Fierce, who's still hanging
there.
around.
He was there up on
he's
up
very
on the
high
berm.
on Ty Montgomery.
Yeah, he can do a lot. So
yeah.
It was encouraging. No Trent Brown, so you get a little bit of a look at the offensive line. City Sal playing a little tackle at times, and just these little things you kind of get a feel for where they're working guys in. I don't think it's something you can overreact to too much, but offensively, it's nice to see Gesicki too. He's a big, long guy. He's got a unique body type. Those kind of things jump out to you when you finally get on the field and you see what these guys actually look like standing amongst other football players. So I'm intrigued by Hunter
No
Henry
Gonzalez.
Gesicki. No Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
But
No.
I should say, though, there were pictures from the last 2 OTAs, which I think goes back to last week. Picture of Gonzalez there. Picture of Barmore there.
Obviously, we have the most famous 5-second clip in the history of clips.
Schuster was there. So just some guys that weren't there yesterday have been around.
But we don't get any injury reports.
No.
We're not thinking that he.
But they might have been in
and
and out. No,
it could have been college related.
Yeah.
It could have been college related. He might have had something that he needed to finish up, or actual graduation itself. That we've seen.
I looked that
happen.
up actually. Graduation at Oregon's next week.
Next week. So I mean, it could be a lot of reasons.
Maybe he had to pick up his gown.
Your question, Fred, about did they maybe install more, quicker? I mean, the two things that I don't know. None of us know. The two things I would fall back on is what Evan said about sort of, I think, more of a base familiarity with what they're doing going back, probably to something closer to what they've done. That helps everybody, and just the fact that I think. I'm not trying to be mean and disrespectful, but the coach knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And they were learning. Patricia and Judge were learning what they were doing last year. So you can't possibly be as up to speed when you have your coaches learning what they're doing along with the players, as you would be if the coach absolutely knows what he's doing. And Mac talked about they absolutely have brought some Alabama terminology to the table, and we saw some RPO type action yesterday. Just, I'm talking formationally. I'm not talking necessarily execution-wise. Obviously, you can't run the ball with any degree. They did have some carries yesterday, but you're not going to learn anything but what they're doing with no pads on. But I do think there was some carryover to what they're doing, and I think they're probably, from mentally, most of the players are at a level further along than they were last year.
Yeah. I thought one interesting moment, I don't know how much you guys heard or watched of Bill O'Brien. You could definitely hear his voice at times, but there was, one play I think they went down the field and he was, very positive, that's what we're looking for. That was what kind of stood out to me. I was kind of waiting for him to yell at somebody or, get fired up, but it seemed like he was, I don't want to say he was happy with the practice, but it seems like things were going the way he wanted them to. He wasn't getting agitated, and neither were the players, and that's, it all feeds into it. So just overall, you got that feeling when we first heard from Bill O'Brien this offseason of this guy's got some head coach mojo. And, to Paul's point, he knows what he wants, and the players are clearly understanding what he wants. And so it's a good start. You don't want to overreact, but I think it was encouraging to see.
Any kicker updates? Do we see any kicking action?
Yeah, well, Ryland had a pretty
good.
Yeah, Ryland probably would have hit, 5 of the last 6.
He hit 5 in a row into the skinny uprights. And then he missed one that would have been good in the regular uprights. And then he missed one. Yeah. That would have.
He can control the ball a lot better than the last kicker they drafted. Certainly. So
I think Eric could have.
But I think that's the biggest thing. I'm not looking at can he make a 60-yard field goal? I don't know. But
I'm looking at the way the ball gets kicked.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of real
foot the ball action.
You can tell that he's got control of the football, and he can. It's. I'm trying to hit this. I'm gonna hit it here. It's not going
Rohrwasser's was I'd never seen a ball
never
go
seen an NFL
diagonally
kicker.
Weird.
I've seen kickers in college do that, and I used to go to Northeastern games. I saw that a lot with the ball going sideways. I haven't seen it ever in the NFL.
There was a lot of Behringer hype too.
Yeah.
The ball coming off his foot. Really.
Oh, I thought you meant his glasses.
Make a
those
sound.
were awesome.
I thought the other guy kicked the ball pretty good too.
Corliss.
Yeah, Waitman. Is that his last name?
Yep.
Waitman.
That's
some good hang times.
Yeah,
out there.
Did
the stopwatch
Bedard
going.
have the stopwatch going?
I didn't read any of that. I did read some of that with the Zappy first team thing.
Any indication that they're already practicing drills with the new rule, the new
kickoff
fair catch rule and kickoffs?
I don't think are you allowed to do kickoffs this time of year? I don't know if you're allowed to.
Well,
yeah,
really?
I mean, I don't know if you can cover. I mean, I don't know if you can cover.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think
they
there
didn't
are
really have
restrictions about that.
They were just kind of punting to guys catching the ball. They didn't have anybody actually covering them.
Yeah.
But in terms of special teams, noteworthy is Joe Judge is exclusively working with special teams.
Yeah, it
At
looks like
least
he's Cam Acor's
loudly.
new best
Now he
friend.
spent almost the
but he's
entire
going to do whatever Bill tells him to do.
Whatever.
Well,
he does.
Bill is
see.
telling him
until
to coach
something
special
changes.
teams.
But they were on an opposite field for the most part, right? Wouldn't you say that they were on that right field, the right side, but from our perspective? And he was, his typical boisterous self. And then Matthew Slater actually talked about it after practice. Obviously Slater loved having him as a special teams coach, and he's looking forward to getting back into that. He was quick to say, with Cam and Joe Houston, not wanting to ruffle any feathers there. But I think it's pretty clear that he is going to be the special teams.
Speaking of Slater and ruffling feathers,
good for him.
What a fantastic,
he had
thoughtful
something to
response.
say about the league. This is not about safety in his mind.
No,
they have a lot of opportunities to do that, and they haven't done it. This is more, he thinks, getting rid of the play.
Yeah.
Well, I just love the way he said this has nothing to do with player safety, and he went through a lot of different things that would show you that they're not concerned. And then he came flat out and said it. It's basically, and I'm paraphrasing what he actually said about the league, but it's for you. It's so they can show you and the fans that they're interested. He's basically called them frauds.
I was thinking about the player safety thing, and until they get rid of Thursday night games, everything they say is
the low hanging.
But he had a lot. Like he goes, that's low hanging.
No, I know, but
turf versus grass.
What would you think about on Thursday night games only 12-minute quarters?
Fred always wants to split the atom.
Shorten it up.
Just get rid of the games at that point.
12-minute quarters for Thursday night.
I told you, if
games.
you really want Thursday night football, there's a way to do it without making it a strain on the players.
Right.
And you just lead into every Thursday night game. The teams are coming off a bye.
Yeah.
But can you do that?
For all 18 weeks, no. But you can do it from like week 4 through week 16.
And then they don't play until after?
Yeah, just like now.
Yeah, well, now you're saying there's kind of like a mini bye before and after, right?
Yeah, well, that would be the weird part. You'd have a bye.
No,
and
you'd
then
have a bye
10-day
before,
break.
and then you'd have the regular, what you have now, after. No one ever plays Thursday and then Sunday.
No. Right. Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
The bye you'd have a week off, then you'd have another. So, it would be kind of on an island there in the middle.
So, like, if let's say buys start in week 5, right? So you have 2 teams on a bye in week 5. And in week 6, they play on Thursday night. So now they had the proper rest to get into that game.
Yeah.
It doesn't work perfectly because you can't have a game every week, and I understand it's all about money for them, and then they would never do it. But if you really wanted Thursday night football and you wanted to try to make it a little bit better for the players, less wear and tear, that there is a way to do it.
You should never have a Sunday-Thursday game.
But Goodell, as Mad Dog likes to call him, Goodell, He tells me that there's no data that suggests that injuries are any more significant on Thursday nights. And I would just say, does that data include guys that don't play in the game because they're not ready after a Sunday game to play? They can't post on Thursday nights?
Isn't it also just like the quality of the play, right? Because these guys are just worn down, so it's not the same. It just doesn't. You can just tell that aesthetically it doesn't look as good.
It's spoken from a guy who's never played football at that level and what it takes to play football at that level. It's disrespectful.
And unfortunately, he had, and I know, I think the Kelsey brothers have both said that they love Thursday nights because it's perfect the way it's set up. You play on Sunday, you have walkthroughs, no pads. It's you play in the game on Thursday, and then you get a mini bye after it. And as long as there's enough people like that speak that way, they're gonna get away with it.
Yeah, I guess, but.
Good for Slater. He's a good voice to say all those things too. Just as at this point, is he the longest tenured veteran in the league? He's got to be close to it. So that's good.
Yeah.
God, was he good though? Listening to him talk like he was so measured. It wasn't a rant. It was so measured and thoughtful that you couldn't help but take it to the bank. And I don't have a problem with the touchback rule, but I do have a problem with them saying that it's in the name of player safety.
Right. Yeah.
Like I think that's where Slater's coming from.
The returner on the Cowboys, who I can't remember his name off the top of my head, he was the Pro Bowler in the NFC for returners last year. He was like, I'm not fair catching it. Like, that's my chance to shine. Like, I'm not, he said that they had the same rule in college and he never fair caught it in college. So I'm still waiting to see. I know there's we get questions every week in the mailbag. What's this mean? What's this going to mean for roster building? Bill was asked about it yesterday. I'm still waiting to see how many guys are actually going to fair catch it in season before we overreact, because like Marcus Jones, do you want him to fair catch it or do you want him to return it? I want him to return it.
I think what it's done is it's probably taken away the chip kickoff. Like, we're going to just sky it as high as we can.
Right.
Try to land it at the 10-yard line because that's going to get fair.
If the guy's got a good enough leg where he can get hang time and put it inside the 10, you're going to have to fair catch it.
But that's difficult to do off a tee.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to punt it like that, but to do it off the tee, that's harder. And guy like Cordell Patterson, you think he's fair catching it? No, he's going to try to take it to the house. Like, and that's why I let's see. Like, if we'll see what the fair catch rate is now pre-rule, and then let's see what the fair catch rate was this season, and how much of it, if it's a 5% difference, then we're not even going to tell. Like, we're not even going to really feel it.
And then Slater having the information too, like the injuries were on fewer than 1%, like 99%, no injuries.
Yeah. All right, and then Bill had his press conference before practice, and he was asked about the lost OTAs, but that's all in the past.
That's already in the past.
Yep.
Yeah, no need to talk about it.
Yep.
Nope, he did take responsibility when pressed a little bit, but as expected. I mean, Tommy Curran went right at him, was like, should we blame Joe Judge for this? And I mean, it was kind of just blame me, but yeah, we're off. We're off with the Bill press conferences and everything. Give a nice wave to the camera. I saw that at the beginning. That was nice.
The beginning was as much smiling as I think I've seen him do in a long time. Maybe it's the off season. It's no pressure right now with games and stuff like that.
Can I bring up one more thing though? I gotta say something
Bring up as many things as you want, Mike.
about Cam Acord, because I just feel like all of a sudden he's got like a monitor. Like, I feel like it's one of those situations
Demoted.
where like, and now well, now you got to be under this guy. Like, I don't know. I just wonder what his headspace is like right now, because that's got to be a tough position to be in, where you've been running the show for a couple of years, and now you've got a big personality, I'll say, kind of looks like back in that fold running
That's
things.
all right. He'll be running the offense by week 3.
But I do wonder that, and just the defense. I mean, we haven't really talked about the defense at all.
I haven't gushed about Taekwon yet.
Yeah, I'll set you up for Mapu gushing too. But I thought their depth just stood out in the secondary to me. Like, without Devin, they've got some experienced guys back there. I know nobody wants to hear, Miles Bryant was out there starting, but look, he's played a few years here. He knows what he's doing. So I think even without without Marcus Jones there, without Christian Gonzalez there, they were still able to roll some starters out there. Had a rotation going on at the free safety spot. I'll let Evan talk about Mapu, but interesting to me, Keon White playing outside linebacker, standing up
a lot.
Yeah, which is interesting to me. I kind of envision him more as hand down guy, move him up around, but if he's able to play on the edge and stand up a little bit, and they can put him down, they can stand him up. My excitement a little bit has
and
gone up.
My initial thought
bit.
was like, we keep talking about potential Dietrich Wise replacement for him. Well, I don't recall many times, if any at all, of Dietrich Wise standing up,
like just a couple
dropping
of the full
into
people. Right? Just
there might be like a specific call that we're
going to try to get him.
This defensive end, because what we're doing, he's got to drop into a zone over there. Yeah. But I thought Keon White was more linebacker yesterday than defensive end.
Well, it's interesting because
which I wasn't expecting.
They've done this a lot in the spring, like just to see what a guy looks like.
That's important.
Cerebrally,
Absolutely.
in a different position. We know he can play inside. We know he can play hand in the dirt outside. Let's see what he looks like and how he reacts.
It's a great point,
to do
Fred.
this position.
Great point, especially with what he's trying to do, which is playing on 2 feet. And how natural does he look? I mean, they praised how smart he is. But is he comfortable? Is he athletic? I mean, how good is it? Is it a guy that he can occasionally drop when we need him? Or is he, no, this could be a real tool for us to build off of and use?
Yeah, I'd also say with Keon, like, it'd be interesting to see what technique he's rushing from when he stands up, because they'll use a lot of fronts where you're still inside the tackle, but you're standing up. And so he's not necessarily doing anything differently than he would with his hand in the dirt other than just the stance. So how far out does he really go? Like, I don't think we're going to see Keon White as a wide 9. Like, it's going to be more closer inside into the tackle. So it'd be interesting. But I would say June 1st, it's one OTA practice, and I'm already ready to call it with Marty Mapu.
Okay.
Already ready to call it.
And why?
They got a player here. 2 reasons. Main reason, out there, very first rep is 7-on-7 next to Juwan Bentley, which tells me that the coaches see it also, not just what we saw out on the field. They have plans for Marty Mapu that go beyond core special teamer and things like that.
He's injured, right?
He's in a non-contact jersey,
Shoulder.
but still participating in some of the stuff that they were doing, and it just, you can't help but stand out to you and at these types of things when they break the huddle for the very, very first 7-on-7 rep with Jonathan Jones and Juwan Bentley and the starting defensive line, and the rookie linebacker is right next to Bentley. Like that, not Mac Wilson, not one of these other guys that's been around, Tafai, whatever. It was Marty Mapu. And I think the biggest thing, all this is passing, right? They don't do any real running in these camps, and his eye discipline, like he doesn't look like he's panicked or like not knowing where things are coming from him and from a route coverage standpoint. And he was on the ball. Like his eyes were always in the right place. He looked calm.
And you could tell that from where you were standing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can see like, with his it's really his headgear, right? His whole head.
Right.
Like you can tell, okay, he's seeing the crossing route coming here, then he's passing that off, and then he's picking up the next receiver in the succession of his basically a progression, but from his point of view. And then when he sees where the ball comes out, that trigger is like immediate. And I just, from where I was sitting, I could see it right away, and I think they got something
Could he
here.
be that sideline to sideline linebacker I crave?
I think he certainly can be that in passing situations. I don't know if he's going to be an every down linebacker as a rookie, but in those sub packages as a coverage guy that comes in on 2nd and long, 3rd down, things like that, I think that's the plan for sure. And that's what this time of year is when you really start to work that out. So, yep, ready to call it.
Yeah, he did look light. I mean, he looks thin. I mean, he doesn't look like their usual kind of guy.
I don't care about that.
Small.
Yeah, but
I agree with his presence in that was one of the most noteworthy things I saw in defense. I don't get into any of this other stuff at this time of year. I kind of am looking at individual players and what they look like. Like Mike, I thought you talked about Mike Gesicki earlier. Yeah, you get to see he is long. I've seen him play for Miami. You kind of know, but now you see him. And kind of I don't know why. Maybe it strikes you a little bit different. The kind of I thought Keon White, same kind of thing. Like, well, whoa, he fills out the uniform.
I met him in person. He's a scary dude.
He's a big guy, So that's the kind of stuff I thought we kind of talked about in some other individuals. Kevin Harris, I think the three of us all agreed. We thought he looked a little svelte. Looked like he dropped a few lbs. He's listed exactly the same as he was last year. We'll see if we get updates as the summer goes on with some of those numbers. But I thought he was quick and looked quick. Looked good.
I thought he looked quick. He looked.
Not talking about performance, because I think a lot of this, and this is why, and this is not to take a shot at Evan here with Mapu, because I think it is absolutely noteworthy, and I included it in my blog too, that he was out there with Bentley right away. Clearly, they have designs on him beyond the special teams thing that I think he'll end up being. But I think a lot of this stuff that they do at this time of year is very scripted.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not, that's why I'm not, Bill says all the time, it's not for evaluation. It's all teaching. And the other thing that Fred brought up earlier with, how Bill likes to start guys doing different things, I think that, that's certainly a possibility for Keon White, certainly a possibility for Sidney Sow. I'm pretty sure he could play guard. Let's see if he can actually play tackle, whatever. We'll line him up out there and do some of those things. And then Bill, yesterday when he talked to us before we went out there, he really specifically said how much, changing and mixing and matching they're going to do. Guys might be out there together for one play, might be 5 plays. Don't read anything into it. So I'm trying to listen to him. I always say go by what he does and not by what he says, but I'm trying to do both at this time of year. But without question, what Evan's talking about with Mapu it was noteworthy just because I think exacerbated by the fact that he's wearing a red non-contact jersey. So he's not even fully cleared yet, would be my guess, and they want to get him out there, which tells me they want to get him as much reps and experience to get him up to speed as they can.
He just moved well, and I'm not looking at he made this tackle or he made this pass
absolutely
breakup.
Not. I didn't say that. Yeah.
But I think mentally, they all the players talking to Juwan Bentley a lot yesterday after practice, he said it's all about mental reps this time of year, right? Like what are we supposed to be doing? What are our keys? What are our reads? What are we looking at? And I think with Mapu, you could tell that his eyes were going to the right places and his body was going in the right directions. And that's not always the case. Like sometimes you get out there and these guys are lost or they're just covering grass and they're not actually influencing the play at all. And I didn't think that was the case at all with him. But the biggest thing was that he was out there and how involved he was in the top package of the defense already at this time of year is usually very telling, especially for a rookie.
Yep. Hope he's healthy. I just hope he's
so I kind of did that sort of disclaimer because at this time of the year, the three of us are, we kind of get inundated with, what about Trey Nixon last year? Like, I totally get it. I understand.
Yeah.
We understand what this time of year is. We're just trying to tell you what we saw yesterday.
Yep.
And these are some of the guys that stood out for us yesterday.
Yeah.
In Mac's post practice press conference, he used the phrase, we're on the same page, at least once, maybe more. I don't think that's any coincidence.
Normal.
I think
Calling it normal was the big one.
Yeah.
My takeaway was the word trust.
Yeah.
Yep.
Trust.
4 times.
Yeah.
It was 3 trusts and a trustworthy.
Yeah.
I went back and looked because that kept ringing in my ear, and I think the message that he was trying to portray yesterday was that he's trying to earn back the trust of the locker room and the coaching staff, and in turn, I believe he's also saying, and I need to learn how to trust them because I didn't last year.
Yeah, it's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street.
Yep.
The clean slate is a two-way street.
In a bad relationship, you've got to learn to trust again, right? We've all been through that.
So
no, Mike, what are you trying to say?
So as a result, Sports Illustrated has come out and said that the Patriots are going to win the AFC.
I know,
East.
Connor Orr, let's go.
Have you seen that?
Let's go.
If
that guy's special.
if OTA practices translate
said
for
that last year,
Tyquan
too.
Thornton, then maybe.
Yeah.
Well, at least our quarterback is out there. The Jets quarterback isn't even out there yet.
He's too busy going to Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Booty, just a quick comp. I mean, we saw a lot of Douglas yesterday. Not a lot of Booty.
Yeah, and I would also temper expectations for Demario Douglas for the time being. The people that he was out there with is important as much as the fact that he was out there. It's great that he was out there and that he was involved and they were trying to get him up to speed in certain things that he's going to maybe be doing down the road, but let me just say this: when you're out there with Raleigh Webb, and that's who you're going through the rep with, like that I think is an indicator that let's tap the brakes a little bit. Like if you want to get excited about Tyquan. Like a guy like Demario Douglas for right now is still in that rookie OTA phase for me.
We didn't get to see Raleigh Webb last year because he came in the middle of the year, but my reaction was like, oh, he's a receiver. Like I had no idea he was he was one of those
So
special
it's funny
teams
because
guys
I am Raleigh Webb. If you're looking to insure your home car or boat,
I mean that's what it is. The other thing though, I just wanted to say though is maybe the experience at the Shrine Bowl helped Douglas a little bit.
Yeah,
and he
absolutely.
maybe just has a little bit more of a grasp of what's going on at this point. Because I did see some good things out of Booty just in some, you catch some of the videos and after practice, the things you might have missed. But it was weird because the long portion, we're seeing a lot of Douglas out there, but where's Booty been? We haven't really.
Yeah.
He
I don't
got
know
in
if
there
he's
and
100%.
Yeah, that's another potential factor too.
Yeah.
All the landmines we're trying to negotiate around.
Yeah.
OTA practice of injuries and
I thought that Douglas did what they asked him to do. That it wasn't like he went out there and you were like, oh my God, this guy's going to be a star. But he was where he was supposed to be and he caught the ball, right? And I think the one thing that we knew he was small, but I wonder if, sort of like a slot, like almost like how they're envisioning using Ty Montgomery, that might end up being where he is long term, is more of like a slot, a gadget, maybe even out of the backfield a little bit. I do wonder with his size if he's ever going to develop into a true down the field receiver in the NFL, like he was in college. But he's still got that juice to be able to add some things underneath the defense that might be important. Like if you get him matched up in space against a linebacker, coming out of the backfield, he's going to win that matchup. So we'll see. I'm intrigued, but I would just mention with the receivers, they only have 6 guys out there right now because Juju wasn't there. So Raleigh Webb has to take reps at receiver. They're a little thin there. And I know everybody's going to go to DeAndre Hopkins and be like, well, we might not be thin there, right? But I think that even just adding another body there for training camp is in play. I think they only have 7 guys on the roster right now at that spot, so they're a little light there now.
Were you counting Malik Cunningham as a receiver?
I guess we are now. But are we counting Malik Cunningham as a receiver because that's actually the plan,
right?
Or because they just don't have any receivers?
Right.
They really don't have a ton of wide receivers for this time of year.
Yeah, that could be another one of your things, Freddie.
yeah.
Malik Cunningham, they probably think he's going to be perfect for a scout team quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if he can give you anything as a receiver. I
that
don't know.
seems like the theme that we're kind of tying all together. Is now is the time to just kind of put guys in positions.
It
and
always
just see
has
what their
been.
brain
Why
is,
not? Why are they going to stop now? They've always done it.
The Eugene Wilson year.
Yeah.
You know, he played, and I always forget which is which first, but he played corner in
first,
college.
yeah, and then
or safety in college, and they put him at corner in the spring and completely switched it when the season started.
So it's like, which of these things are going to stick?
Because we know you can do what Brandon Merriweather was the same thing. He played both, and then you figure it out. You know what he's more valuable at.
Yeah.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. Let's get to some of the phone calls here. We'll start with Patty in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
What's up, gentlemen?
Hey, Patty.
So I wanted to touch on a couple things. First thing, Evan can corroborate this because I said this 2 weeks ago on Catch 22, and I'm not overreacting from what I read yesterday, but I did predict Mac Jones to be the breakout player of this year for the Patriots team.
Okay.
And, Paul, you kind of touched on what he was saying last year, and one of the things he said last year about the coaching staff was we're all learning together, which is, kind of ominous if you think about it. And just hearing him talking about
right.
How there is trust and everyone seems to be on the same page. I mean, it's refreshing.
There's a clear delineation now. Bill O'Brien will be the teacher, and you will be learning.
Well, I didn't take his press briefing as being as overly positive as a lot of other people did. Let's put it that way.
Mac Jones?
Yeah, I thought the first thing he said was referencing, it's normal now. He's still talking
That's
about...
positive.
Still talking about last year.
I know, but if he thinks it's normal and if he's happy, that's half the job.
I don't know.
They don't want him to talk about last year, then maybe the head coach should stop talking about last year.
Well, the head coach said that's in the past. Said it about 7 times yesterday. It actually was like yesterday, Bill.
You know what they say, happy QB, happy life, right? All right, Patty, I don't know what you're doing.
I mean, that's
the whole breakout thing. I think Mac Jones will be much better than he was last year. Does that qualify as a breakout?
Depends on if he was better than 21.
Are we saying he's going
to breakout is 4,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns,
or emerging as one of the better quarterbacks in the league?
Yeah,
yeah. I think if he returns to what he was, it's not really a breakout.
That's not a breakout.
But he did mention, and I think the best part about the presser for him was that he did mention that he's going to be a sponge and that O'Brien has been to all these different stops, and he put O'Brien with Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin and some of the other, really big time offensive coordinators.
The guys he respected.
Yeah, he didn't. He was talking about Alabama at the time, so he didn't mention McDaniels, but I'm sure he would put McDaniels in the same category.
He did mention Dable.
Dable. It was another one. Mike Lockski, who's a big time offensive coach. So he mentioned all these guys with the same breath of Bill O'Brien. So I do think he totally is embracing and understanding. I'm not going to be coaching anybody this year. I'm not going to be telling anybody what to do. That's
how I took it.
Yeah.
Well, you just think as a quarterback, you take normal for granted sometimes that your offensive coordinator knows what he wants to do, has a vision for the offense. He can tell every player what they're supposed to do on a play versus you come into a year where you're like, I don't think our coaches have a vision for what they want us to do. So I think from that perspective, it puts a little bit more into perspective for me. Of what
he also mentioned that Bill O'Brien commands the room.
Yep.
And the way he runs the room is impressive.
You can tell there's nobody who's going to screw up route spacing when Bill O'Brien's watching.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I thought Kendrick Bourne was much more active yesterday too.
Did drop a ball up the seam.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
With no contact.
Yeah, I just wonder, what's going to carry over with
footsteps.
Let's go to Todd, North Carolina. What's up, Todd?
Hey guys, I know it's a silly season, and everybody's predicting every different thing, and everybody's kind of got something strange. So I just want to hear who Deuce's most current man crush is on the field. We know that he has one every year. I think for Evan, it's Mapu.
Oh.
I'm not sure who Fred would have, and
I do have him up.
Well,
My
we all
man
know
crush
Paul
on the
is just
Patriots?
negative.
I had to think
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Drew retired.
I don't pick one in OTAs because I'm a
Thanks, Todd.
defense guy. I need pads to come on before I can,
Oh,
Of course,
all
Matt
right.
Lacoste. That was
that.
one I just felt in my heart. I knew
That's not a great example.
that was my first year here.
Years. 2 years.
My first year here. That was who I got painted to. But I think probably at this point Keon White. But I'm definitely interested.
I think
Keon White filled out a uniform yesterday.
Yeah.
He filled out a uniform.
I was going to say, Keon White could be the guy. He's got to earn my crush.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure
right,
he's going home to work.
yeah,
on it.
right now, I would say Christian Barmore.
I thought about him too. I mean, he wasn't there, but I just a guy that could really provide a boost that I don't think people are really
Yeah.
anticipating.
So now we're talking about players like ability.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's talking about like your Derrick
just
Henry
like a
thing.
stupid,
like
a stupid player. You're like,
Who am I attracted to?
I actually can I amend
like
this?
Mike.
Can I amend this? Can I made it B? Beringer with the glasses.
Oh, okay.
I think this is hilarious.
Hot and
I'm
bothered by
we
it.
got one. We got a punter with glasses on. I'm ready to go. I love it.
Well, Brandon Spike's not here anymore, so who?
I like athletic people. I like people that move well.
Me too.
And that's why Mapu and Taekwon gave me a
Gonzalez.
little Taekwon yesterday.
The dynamic element is what I'm attracted to too. But
Yeah.
I thought the 2 second-year running backs, both of them, Harris and Pierre Strong too.
Yeah,
Pierre Strong caught a number of passes yesterday in different formations, some screens, some
A lot
short
of screens
stuff.
yesterday. I mean, what did you think, Evan, overall yesterday? Of just what the offense was working on? Because it seemed like a lot of misdirection, a lot of wide receiver screens. Just not like conventional kind of stuff. Just seemed like more special.
In the interest of not giving too much away so that Bill O'Brien doesn't get mad at me, I think the biggest thing that you saw was the screen periods that they were working on were clearly working on building those foundational elements because they're going to have complements off of those plays. So my guess is that some of the screens that we saw yesterday are going to be attachments to RPOs. And then they're probably going to then, once you get the pads on and you add the offensive line to it and you add the run game to it, now that's where it all starts to build out from there. The other thing that I think really stood out was the amount of motion that they were using, not shifting, but motion at the snap. More than enough times where they were motioning guys using that orbit motion when the player goes behind the quarterback and then coming out through the other side of the formation, which obviously create stress on the defense. You go from this is a 2 receiver side to now it's a 3 receiver side, and how are we going to cover that and react to that? There was some play action, some under center play action going on, but it was screen, it was quick game, it was under center play action, and that's what we all want to see, I think, from this offense. I think we want to see those 3 things: get the ball out, take your calculated shots down the field. But I think one of the biggest differences between this practice and practices that we saw last year, there wasn't a whole lot of holding the football. The quarterback wasn't patting the baby in the pocket, staring, looking around like this. And then, how many times did Mac Jones throw the ball away in practice last year?
And that's a really good point, too.
In practice, you're throwing the ball away.
Earlier in the show, I had mentioned that I thought the offense looked pretty good last spring, too. But that's one area that was different. Is I think a lot of those deep balls to Trey Nixon that we talked about were plays that we all kind of looked at. I'm not sure they would have been able to get. There wasn't really any of that yesterday. Now, there wasn't anything really down the field. They had one deep seam route to Thornton, I think, that took a little time to develop. But I agree with Evan. I didn't think the quarterbacks were holding onto the ball, patting it a lot, and having a hard time finding someone. They did occasionally, but not like last year. I think that might have been a difference between the actual execution of the plays from this year to last year.
Yeah, they had one play in particular, the one that you were talking about earlier, where Bill O'Brien was applauding what was happening, and they motioned Taekwon over to that side of the field. And what I think he was applauding was that the routes got up the field and they were covered, but they brought the gravity, right? They brought those guys up the field, and instead of sitting there and waiting to see if the routes down the field were going to develop, Mac just dumped it off into the flat to Taekwon, who had space with just one guy over there that he could make somebody miss and turn up the field. And that the timing of the play and the spacing of the routes were what I think Bill O'Brien was applauding. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want to do. Even if the downfield shot isn't there, we're not going to hold the ball for 4 seconds waiting for it to happen. We're just going to kind of survive the play.
And we did
at
see.
that point.
Sorry, Evan.
No.
We did see a lot of the 2 tight end stuff too. Again, not wanting to get into what they were actually doing with that, but maybe more than we saw last year with Henry and Smith. I think there was maybe a little bit more Henry Gesicki than we saw last year.
Yeah.
We'll see if that continues.
Christian writes in from North Carolina. Evan is still suffering from recency bias. Let's not overreact to the Taekwon looking good, as we can remember Trey Nixon looked like Randy Moss.
Totally
last OTA.
tongue-in-cheek thing.
This is awesome.
Hoping he does improve this year, but let's relax on the hype of Thornton I'm seeing through Twitter.
Can you just enjoy it? Like, there's nothing wrong with
I
being
don't
excited
understand.
at this
But-
point.
But this is
get it.
why
Like,
I offered the disclaimer
Yeah.
because I'm waiting for this is what you said last year.
Right.
Like, yeah. Because last year when we went to practice, we told you what we saw.
Yeah.
Just like we did yesterday.
Sorry that Tyquan Thornton was catching passes all over the
I
place
know.
yesterday.
Does
What
anyone
else am I
wanna
supposed to
listen
say?
I know. Does anyone listen to the show? We're like, well, Tyquan was really good yesterday, but I don't know. Yeah.
When I wrote about it yesterday,
I wouldn't read into it at all.
I used Maurice,
Hour 5 here.
Maurice Harris was my big one. In 2019, my first year covering the team all year, first OTA, first mini camp, all that stuff. I fell in love with Maurice Harris. I was like, this guy's going to be a player for this team. Brady's like dapping him up after plays.
I thought he was definitely going to make the team. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and then in August he gets cut. Not even on cut.
like the last one.
No,
Like, you need, like, the first
didn't
round.
even get close. So I get it. But with Tyquan, that's the 50th overall pick in the draft. That's not Maurice Harris. That's not some cast off that you're trying to make something out of. This is a guy that you are drafting high in the draft with real talent, with real tools at his disposal. And it wasn't so much the results of the plays, it was how they were getting him open, how they were using him and the different ways that they were incorporating his speed into the offense. It's not he caught a deep post in 7-on-7. I'm not gushing about that. I'm just saying that the fact that they are getting him as open as he was on I never saw that last year. I never saw a guy 5 yards behind the defense and nobody within 10 yards of him. That was not happening as often last year. And in one practice, we saw him get open probably more than we saw all down the stretch last year.
And
so
Evan and Mike will make fun of me because I got excited about one play. They just ran the most routine 12-yard out that you've seen.
I know. Yeah.
Every football practice you've ever attended at any level, they run that play, and I just think that's perfect for him.
Yeah.
He has to make the cornerback backpedal with his speed.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to see if we can outrun 5 guys going across the field, potentially getting lit up, why not just get a guy on the outside and take the easy first down throws? The drive starters that they used to have back in the day with Brandon LaFell and those guys.
Of LaFell, right?
Brandon Lloyd, even though I couldn't stand Brandon Lloyd, he had a pretty productive season that year. I like the idea of incorporating that, if he can catch 20 of those, and then eventually you beat him with double moves and stuff like that off of that. You don't have to send him across the middle all the time.
Yeah, that was, I think, what was the whole thing about the offense was you could see how these foundational plays that they're installing in the spring, the things that they could then evolve off of that in 6 months, when it really gets real. And that's, I think, something that we never saw last year. There was no sequencing, rhyme or reason, no structure. And now you can see sort of the bones of, all right, this is what they're going to fall back on, and then we're going to build off of that.
Ray in St. Louis says, let's overreact.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see all the different reports coming from OTAs. I really liked how Mac talked yesterday. He sounds more like a leader. He has more swagger, and I'm excited to see the guys rally around him. How did Kendrick Bourne look?
Yeah, well, Paul said it.
He was active.
Yeah, active. I think with Mac too, I was expecting that this would happen because he's just a kid. He's going to mature, and obviously the experience he had last year is something that can mature you pretty quick. But it didn't feel like he was constantly running everything through is it okay to say this? Can I say, he just was conversational. He made fun of Tommy Kern's hat a little bit. You didn't really get that stuff last year. He was just more so in it, so, concerned with making sure he didn't say the wrong thing or, So
that I agree with. He wasn't cranky at all.
Just to see him get away from that and kind of just be calm and, responding to questions and having a little repartee with the reporters. I don't know what it's going to mean. I still don't. I still have, questions about the performance in crunch time with him. And, is he, but I have some positive juice going right now. And that's, all you can ask at this point. I mean, if you don't feel somewhat positive about your team at this point, I think you're going to be miserable all year.
You have to have some sort of enthusiasm, at least, for the newness of it all.
Especially with these young kids who, Thornton, I know he's a second-year guy, but there's still a lot of potential there. I mean, he's, a kid who can play. And, to see that player, if there was one player you said who's one guy that you think if he really popped in an OTA practice, you'd pick it to be, it'd probably be him. Just that's what they need. Everybody's clamoring still for, DeAndre Hopkins. And, all of a sudden, hey, maybe if you've got a guy here that you found last year in the draft, that's way better than going out and getting old-ass DeAndre Hopkins.
And it's one thing you can see when they're in shorts is speed. When a guy's fast, he stands out. I go back to that Bethel Johnson when he first got here and returning kicks and 0 to 60, he was just different than everybody else.
Yeah, the clip that we posted on Twitter of the bomb to Thornton is getting some negative feedback, to say the least, because it looks like there was nobody covering him. And so it looks like it's against air. So we're hyping up a play against air. It was in 7-on-7, and he ran by everybody, right? And in these types of practices, if he wasn't doing those types of things, that would be a major concern, because he is a 4.28 guy that should be doing those types of things when there is no pads and there's no real contact. So what do you want us to say? If he was getting covered and everybody was all on top of him all the time, all practice long, that would have been a bad sign. The fact that he was actually getting open means that we're at least on that baseline. We were at least past that eye test.
Well, you saw him dust Jack Jones once off the line?
Yeah, right? The lateral movement off the line looked good yesterday. Just his press releases and his ability to get off the line of scrimmage. What I thought the route that Paul was talking about, it was, that had some dressing on it, had some seasoning on it. It wasn't just I'm just going to get to the top of the route and lazily come through this break and run it out. It was, I'm going to set up the out in the stem and then I'm going to snap it off and I'm going to create separation, spun the corner around. So those are the types of things that you just want to see this time of year. Let's see what it looks like when the pads come on. No doubt about it, but it's encouraging.
Rusty's in Arlen. He says, I genuinely am glad we're back to the overly positive coverage of OTAs like before. I think the wide receiver position will be the most interesting to watch unfold, and especially with Cunningham effectively being a wide receiver from what I've read. When Edelman was here initially, what was he doing in camp? Is there a chance one of these rookies or Thornton shows enough to push Parker or Bourne off the roster? Just seems like a bit of a logjam if Cunningham or Booty shows enough.
So Evan just said they don't have enough receivers in camp.
Now we got
now we have a logjam.
No, I don't think either of those guys can.
And Edelman was a wide receiver in his first camp. Now he mostly handled punts. He was returning a lot of punts early on in his career, but he was a receiver immediately.
Yeah, go watch his football life. He talks a lot about those initial days in camp, what Bill's first things saying to him. It's good stuff. We
get a lot of that about getting rid of Devontae Parker or Kendrick Bourne. That's the big question is, if this rookie receiver pops, is that going to push these guys off the roster? And I don't think the Patriots are in the position to be casting off playable receivers. Devontae Parker might not be special, he might not be a true number one, but he can play in the league. Yep. In Kendrick Bourne, the same thing. So are the Patriots really in the position to just say, actually, we're too good now for you, Kendrick Bourne? No. They don't have that kind of receiver.
That was the
talent.
thing, kind of reviewing some of the games again, was that Parker was really probably the only guy last year that made, and I know he was hurt and, he was in and out, but he, throughout the year, made some big plays. There weren't a lot of them, but I think a large majority were made by him. I think they hang on to him.
Chris in Denmark wants to know, why does it always sound like there's a truck backing up in the background? Because there is.
A lot of times there are
There's
trucks
a lot of
backing
construction going on around here.
Concert setups.
Not surprising. Let's see. Somebody had an OTA comment. Where was it? Oh, here it is. Rick writes in from Dallas.
Oh, Rick.
I love that they're using Mapu at linebacker, at least for now, and hope he stays there. 2, I'm kind of disappointed. Cunningham spent most of his time catching passes. Like Evan, I was hoping they'd use him as a developmental third-string quarterback.
Well, he did get some development.
3, I love that Mac, at least on the first day, was the clear-cut quarterback. Remember, it's the first day for us.
Yeah, they've had a
They've
few.
been out there. Question, why keep Joe Judge? I know Bill thinks he brings a lot to the table, and I'm sure his knowledge would be beneficial, but if the players have such a negative opinion of him, doesn't that negate his contribution? A leader can't lead if no one follows. Doesn't Bill risk losing the locker room completely by keeping him on the staff? I hate calling for a person's job, but the Patriots' motto has always been the team comes first. At this point, is Bill really putting the team first by keeping him?
Well, I think Bill believes that he's a really good coach. I mean, I think you'd have to ask the players. You'd have to truly get a sense of, is there lingering resentment towards him, and is his presence even on special teams this season still going to affect people like Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne and those kind of guys? But I think Bill has too much respect for Joe Judge and is going to keep him in the fold because he thinks he helps.
All right, Paul's food is here, so we'll take a break. And when we get back, more calls and emails here on Patriots Unfiltered.
Yes,
Verizon, the network America relies on, and the official 5G network of the New England Patriots.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes.
Oh no.
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment, day in and day out, to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week, so head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible!
No way! As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance!
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Verizon, the network America relies on, and the official 5G network of the New England Patriots.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G ultra wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. 5G ultra wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
Oh no.
replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment day in and day out to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
There's no season better than football season. And there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week. So head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Patriots fans, you'll want to check out the replay on this one. Pat the Patriot is stealing the show tonight with his Bank of America mobile banking app.
That's right, folks. So here we see Pat cheering, and then whammo! Is that Bank of America life plan?
Looks like he's saving up for some big future moves. Planning the next vacay, huh, big guy?
And wait, now he's paying back his buddy for concessions using Zelle? No penalty there. Incredible!
No way! As if that double move wasn't impressive enough, now he's beefing up his account defense with security meter? Holy cannoli, what a performance!
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive, Patriot fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/banking. You must be enrolled in online banking or download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Want to get into the game? Get coached up at Dean College. Equipped with exclusive academic partnerships featuring the Patriots, Revolution, Providence Bruins, summer baseball, and more, our classrooms are set up for success by learning directly from the pros. Dean College has programs in communications, sports management, business, and marketing with unprecedented hands-on experiences. Our students take what they learn in the classroom and put it right to work in the marketplace. At Dean College, our students don't just play games, we run them. Visit us at dean.edu.
Patriot Place is the region's #1 shopping, dining, and entertainment destination. Shop your favorites, including Vineyard Vines, Express, Bass Pro Shops, Petco, and more. Enjoy dining at one of our 19 restaurants, including Six String Grill and Stage, Scorpion Bar, and Bar Louie. And don't forget about the entertainment. Explore your inner artist at Muse Paint Bar. Watch a movie at Showcase Cinema Deluxe, or grab a controller and start gaming at Helix Esports. For a complete directory listing, please visit patriot-place.com.
Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered. And now, great moments in history.
I wasn't born for 85, obviously, but my dad, my uncles, grandfathers, they would tell me about stories about that Super Bowl, and they were just happy to be in that Super Bowl, and they knew they were going to get their doors blown off by the 85 Bears. Like they were up
3-0.
There was no conversation of whether or not they were going to win that game. But the Packers Super Bowl, they probably should have won the game, just the way that the game unfolded. And to me, Parcells is as much to blame. I mean, Reggie White, like, can we don't put a tight end over there, chip him, like do something.
This is all retroactive because how old were you in '96?
4.
He's so mad about this.
Like,
you're kicking off to Desmond. Little baby Evan getting mad, whipping his blanket.
That's another great moment from
All right. Back here on Patriots Unfiltered, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. It's Deuce, it's Evan, it's Paul, it's myself, Matt in the booth. We're here until 2 o'clock, and then it's Catch 22. Evan and Alex.
We'll overreact even more.
Barth and
How
did Barth take yesterday's thing?
Pretty good. I think he's sometimes a little bit more tepid around this time of year. Doesn't get quite as excited as I do.
Hate people like
believe it or not. But yeah, yesterday they're on Reddit, the Patriots Reddit. There's just like tweets like from practice and stuff that it goes crazy. And there's like a couple of things I was showing Barth of like, well, Evan works for Patriots.com now, so like, can we really take his analysis seriously? Like, he's on the payroll and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that influences me. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows?
Andrew in LA still hasn't gotten his T-shirt, Matt. Yeah. So Matt, he can take apart a rocket launcher and put it back together, but he can't put a T-shirt in the mail.
Hopefully, sure he got his sent out to him.
Okay. All right. Well, he says he still hasn't gotten it. But
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So on Catch 22, do we have Catch 14 today?
Oh, 7 on 7.
It's only 7 on 7.
Oh, I see what
Paul,
you're saying.
deep dive there.
That was smart.
Numbers.
I'm gonna use that now.
I'm wicked smart.
Yeah.
Use that now. We are gonna do like 20 minutes on the rookie specialist. I'm sure.
I am going to go back and have my French fries now.
Paul's food.
Beringer.
I'm sure the YouTube crowd is all over it.
They are.
Ryan in Situate writes in, there's been a lot of talk about the linebackers, in particular some of the faster guys such as Wilson, Mapu, and McMillan. My question is, with McMillan going to season-ending IR, does that open up a spot for Mac Wilson? People speculated that if Mapu got some run at linebacker, maybe that pushes Wilson off the roster. Curious of your thoughts.
Possibly. I mean, he was out there with
Is
Bentley a
Raekwon
little bit
McMillan
too.
out again?
Yeah, he blew his Achilles, I think.
He's on,
last week.
He's on
so,
injured reserve.
Yeah, he's done for the year. So yeah, that's done. I think Mac Wilson still kind of has an inside track just for depth and special teams, but maybe somebody like Chris Board beats him out. But Mac Wilson was playing a little bit on defense yesterday, so I don't think you can totally, write him off. I think they already had plans for Mapu anyway that probably were unrelated, but Tavai's in that mix too.
Cameron writes in, he's from Franklin, said what was up with Bill Belichick yesterday. Nothing new.
Same old.
And also, what are some positive differences from this year's first OTA compared to last year's? Well, we talked about it. I mean, it just looked a lot smoother.
Yeah.
Everybody, as Max said, was on the same page. They were ready to go. It looked like a NFL offense from the get-go. Not that at this time last year it didn't, because we had really no idea. But you saw Bill O'Brien. There wasn't any questions about, well, who's got the radio. It was Bill O'Brien. He's calling the offense. It's going to be his offense. There's no doubt about it. Everybody's on the same page that way.
That was refreshing. Not like having to go into the practice and be like, who's calling plays, who's doing this, who's doing that, and like finding all the coaches. Like there was you just knew where everybody was supposed to be, and that's where they were. So that was awesome.
No huddle back up and run it again.
Yeah.
No David Andrews in the middle of the offensive huddle screaming at people. Yeah.
Kobe writes in, you guys all know way more about football than I ever will, but last show,
not me,
when you were talking defensive strategy and personnel, I couldn't help but wonder what Belichick would think if he listened to an episode. I kind of know what he would say.
Yeah, me too.
Would he think you are morons who have no idea about what you're talking about, or would he say, wow, these guys make a lot of sense and the things they say are accurate?
Probably the first one.
Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, like, it's just football. It's not like this
is
like
it is just
organic chemistry that, you're like, there's routes that you run and timing.
Well, even Bill tells a story that, like, people call him this defensive genius, and his father once said, genius, all you do is walk up and down a sideline. I mean, that's his father that said that,
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, obviously a passion for Evan and certainly not as much for me, but a passion and something that was a motivator for me to get involved because I just wanted to know more about the game. But I think you can know more about the game without being able to, like, break down a playbook and tell you everything there is to know. But, you start to pick up what different coverages are and, field and boundary and, the strategy that goes behind those kind of things. And, I think it's fun. You learn every year. I mean, that was, I think what was fun last year about having Evan come aboard is, you look at things a little bit differently. Maybe you learn some things and, it's just a quest for knowledge.
One of the great things about football, but also the toughest to evaluate individual players is none of us know really what the assignment is on every play.
Yeah,
we from the look of it, you can kind of guess. But you don't know, like, if a tackle's all of a sudden blocking no one, that might not have necessarily have been his fault.
Right. It could have just been a mess up on the protection call,
but it looks that
the wrong way.
It looks that way, But we don't always know what the blocking assignments were, what a receiver was really supposed to do on a given play, why two receivers ended up in the same place. Well, whose fault is that? We don't know. We can guess, but.
Yeah,
we don't really know.
I try my best not to place like blame on players as much as I can because of that exactly. Like you don't know. Now I could tell you like what the defensive structure looks like it should have been, or what the route looks like it should have been, or if it was successful, like that, which is much more fun. I can tell you why it was successful, but I'm not gonna say, Miles Bryant blew his zone here, or Jack Jones blew it here. Unless if it's man to man and he gets beat, right?
Right.
But in terms of the nuances,
yeah. That's what makes football so cool, I think.
Well, that's why there can be 50 people out there covering practice yesterday, and everybody's a lot of things, a lot of overlap. I'm sure people are reading other things, but
and there's 90 guys out there, and sometimes you're watching something different, and someone will say, oh, I thought so-and-so looked good doing this, and you're like, wow, really? I really didn't even notice that guy because you didn't. Yeah. You weren't watching something that he did.
Yep. 855-PASS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Let's go to Dan in Florida. What's up, Dan?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can.
Yeah, hey, how's it going, y'all? How you guys doing today?
Good.
Hey, so I got 3 things for you guys. I want you guys get you guys' thoughts on these 3 things. First thing is, did you guys hear about Ramondre Stevenson being named to the all? I think it was they called it. He was named to the all breakout team for 2023.
Whose list is this?
This is Patriots Country.
Patriots Country.
Okay.
Okay.
They're really going out on a limb.
I mean,
that's a very.
I love me some Ramondre Stevenson. The guy did rush for 1,000 yards
he kinda broke out last year.
and caught for like another 500, like 4 and change anyway.
Oh, it's a breakout
Yeah,
season.
they got him listed for 1,040 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground.
Okay,
Five?
so in
So he
other
has the
words,
same season
In
now?
other words, what he did last year.
If he only has 5
Yeah,
touchdowns, then this offense is in trouble.
Yeah, I think I like Ramondre. And then the other two things, what do you guys think about the new tight end Anthony? I'm pronouncing his last name.
Firkser.
Firkser. What do you guys think about him? Kind of using him like how Josh McDaniels did with the fullback, but I don't want him to be a traditional fullback. I want him to be like, I don't know if you guys
H-back,
seen like how Kyle Juszczyk with the 49ers, how they use him in the passing game, kind of go out there on some screen, maybe some bubble plays, block a little bit, but also because I don't want it to be predictable where every time we have a fullback out and every team in the NFL is like, okay, they're going to go run. So I wanted to kind of like mix it up. They throw him out on some bubble screens and they get him out there going outside, kind of basically being like a Kyle Juszczyk.
I don't think he's as good as Kyle Juszczyk. I don't think they're gonna.
Yeah.
I think he's a depth. I think he's a depth guy. I think if he's playing, it's probably a bad sign that
Thanks, Dan.
Gesicki and Thornton and those guys,
Yeah.
Douglas,
But he does have a little bit of a fullback background.
So if Gesicki gets hurt or Hunter Henry gets hurt in camp, and you need an extra body, he's probably the next guy up over Matt Sokol or Scotty Washington or.
They did use that at Alabama. They did use last year like a fullback / H-back player. Barth would know the guy's name. He's
I'll be listening to Catch 14 later.
Yeah, I can ask him later. But yeah, they did use that player, and I think one of the things that they were maybe doing yesterday, maybe they weren't, but they maybe were.
Is this Clintus?
They were motioning players into the blocking structure on screens, right? So it was adding on blockers onto the screen, and
saw one example of exactly what you're talking about.
Maybe that is something that Firkser could do better than
Harvard guy,
than Hunter Henry and Gesicki. Maybe we'll see. I'm getting ahead of myself on that one though.
Paul's in Vancouver. What's
Not
up,
tight.
Paul?
Hey, Fred, how you doing today?
Good.
Good. Okay, I want to ask you a couple questions. I want to get to my questions today. But, with the retirement of Devin McCourty, it's an interesting fact about the Patriots roster now that we have 0 first-round, second-round, and third-round picks signed to a second contract on that roster right now. Like our own picks.
Yep.
Not a single one. Yep. And I find that really quite interesting in a roster-building thing. And I actually managed to find a study on the internet about like this kind of thing. Who re-signed second contracts? What are those percentages? And I found out that for first-round draft picks, 31% signed with their own team, and 50% signed with a different team. The second round is 24%, 43% for a different one, and round 3 is 16%. So when I'm kind of thinking about, I always just want the Patriots to build a new core of players. So here's my question. What current players do you want to re-sign, and what do you think is the likelihood Bill will do it? Because I look at a player like Josh Uche. I don't agree with Evan that he's a, quote, elite pass rusher. I believe he's good, and I do agree with Evan that you need somebody, a specialist like that with that kind of skill in today's game. But I have no hope that Bill's going to match what the market's going to pay for those guys. So,
yeah, that's a good.
And is there any recent player that you think they really should have kept? Those are my questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Paul.
I would say Kyle Duggar would be my pick.
Yep.
For his answer.
Yeah.
I think it's probably between Duggar and Uche, but
yeah.
For the reasons that I do agree, Evan. I think that's kind of what Evan's
I hope
take on Uche is.
I hope I hope Barmore gives them a reason.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. And I mean, I'd put him almost near the top. I mean, I think he's got the potential to be like that true disruptive guy.
And the reason it's 0 right now is very easy to go back and just look. They've missed on draft picks.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like a lot of the guys that they didn't sign to second contracts are dominating around the league.
Right.
They missed on, N'Keal Harry.
He's out of the league right now.
I mean, Isaiah Wynn just signed for peanuts. to compete in Miami, and he was available for a long time.
Like Sony Michel's been like kicking around
Sony
now.
Michel
it's like a journey.
Not on
now.
a team.
Is he even on a
Him
team?
and Nikhil Harry are both not on a team.
So those, whatever, 18, 19 drafts, like those are the guys that should be on second contracts now.
Yep.
Right.
And we'll see the 20 draft, Onwenu, Duggar, Uche are all candidates.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll see if
It's-
any of them get retained.
I mean, that call is just the heart of the matter of why they are where they are right now. They didn't draft those players.
Yeah,
They
and
weren't, you know?
again, the difference here is it's not a matter of the Patriots simply not re-signing guys, and like Paul said, then they go on and it's a miss. Rightly so, they haven't felt they should re-sign him, and they were right. But that begs, the problem is they haven't drafted well.
Now, if you want to go back further than that, but at this point, those guys would be cycled out. I think there were opportunities to sign guys that they didn't.
Like
you know.
Trey Flowers.
That'd be a good example.
Yeah, Trey Flowers comes to mind.
Yep.
He didn't necessarily go on to have a great
that's the
career with
thing.
the Lions.
But he's good. I mean, he signed a big money contract.
So the only guy that on
was
this
good.
team, I mean, Juwan Bentley did sign a second contract, just to be fair. I know he's the only one, but like, just it's not zero.
He was a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
So he was he was only going the top 3 rounds.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't hear that part. And also with Uche, the league pays for sacks. Like whether they're sacks against Arizona or they're sacks against whoever.
And that's what I think his point.
Yeah.
It was Paul, right? In
Yeah.
Vancouver.
The league is going to pay if he has another double-digit sack season. He's going to get double-digit money in the open market. So that's just the way it works.
And then you just wonder what another team thinks about him because he's doing kind of the same thing he did here in college. Is there really any reason for another team to think we can pay him a lot and we can play him a lot?
No, but I think Evan's right. You don't have to envision him having a bigger role, but I envision him getting double-digit sacks as that guy for me.
Like a closer,
Yeah.
kind of like
Yes.
Von Miller. Like
Yeah, I mean,
a
probably
younger
not- not that good.
But that role, right? That's what you're
But-
hoping.
But yeah, some teams though, like especially 4-3 teams, have that like designated pass rusher role that's on the field all the time. So it's not here you're asked to set the edge. Like that's a big part of that assignment.
Could he be like a Shaq Barrett?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good example.
Yep.
Let's go to Joe in Connecticut. Hey, Joe.
Oh, hey guys.
Hi,
Joe.
I got a quick kind of off-season question.
Nice.
Just personal opinion from all you guys. How do you personally feel the team handled Brady's departure? Are you happy with how that went? Because personally, I wasn't. I think we had, the greatest quarterback of all time, and
Yeah,
I don't know, I feel like
I think we've been over this for a
God.
couple years worth of shows at this point.
You
but
think?
Yeah, I felt, and I think Fred agreed with me at the time that I understand that from a logical standpoint, what the Patriots did made sense. Fred and I wanted to see an exception made. I just felt like this is a guy who had done so much. He deserved to continue to play until he showed obvious signs of not being able to play anymore and writing his own story on the way out. And we weren't happy, right? Am I speaking for you, Fred?
Yeah, I wasn't happy. But
How could you be
like I
happy?
felt at the time it was inevitable. Like Brady wasn't going to get
You were kind of happy.
Brady wasn't going to get the respect he felt he deserved, and Bill and Robert, both felt okay. Let's let him go. Now remember, Robert made that agreement that he wasn't going to franchise. I mean, put the tag on him, and I think that was a big concession. That was his way of saying thank you. I'm not going to force you. I'll never trade you. He said that openly, and I'm not going to put a tag on. You'll be able to leave, a free man. And I think that was Robert's goodbye gift to him. But yeah, it wasn't good. I mean, and obviously, now hindsight's 2020. It was the wrong move.
Yeah, and I'm not going off of what he did.
Right.
I'm going at the time.
At the
and
time.
I think Fred and I both said, I mean, how can, why would you pull the plug on this era any earlier than you needed to? And look, there were signs in 19. I understand that they didn't have a great offense. We've gone over all the personnel issues that they had in 2019. Tom Brady didn't play very well. With what he had, he didn't play very well.
Wasn't very happy.
I don't think he was. Yeah, I don't think he was really all in, emotionally, and all the things that he normally did. So, I understand where the Patriots were coming from. I just disagreed with it. That's all.
I just felt like by 2019 the ship had kind of sailed. Like it had already been kind of written. Like it was too late.
Well, that's the
by
thing.
2019.
I think the groundwork had been laid before that.
Like 5 years. 5 years of groundwork.
Joe was hung up.
He calls in to talk about something that happened 3 years ago, and then he hangs up.
Not the first one. Not the first one to tire of us.
Listen, I just think at the time the rift between Bill and Tom was just too great. Like, Bill was never going to, all of a sudden say, all right, Tom, you're our guy for the next 3 years, and we're going to give you $30 million a year, and we're going to give you a WR1 and all that. That just wasn't going to happen. If it had happened, I think Brady would have been back all in. I think he would have been back here, and I think he would have, been re-energized. But that was never going to happen, so I think the split had to come.
Yeah.
I
just think it's weird how they won a Super Bowl in 2018. And at that point, it wasn't quite like this is getting to be the end, but they won a Super Bowl even when things were kind of falling out. I'll just say the only thing I do wonder, and it's been brought up a ton, but had they not missed on the N'Keal Harry pick, had they drafted a receiver that Brady was like, hell yeah, I'm reinvigorated. This is fun throwing to A.J. Brown or Deebo Samuel. Maybe that might have changed the course.
It might have a little bit.
It could have.
But they still needed to pay him.
Yeah.
They still
and that's why
needed to pay him.
The reason for his pissiness in 19 was less about N'Keal Harry,
right,
as it was about what they had done to him before that.
Yeah, right.
Sure. It's like I won another Super Bowl, and it's still not enough for this guy.
You can't give me a relatively long contract for market money. You're not willing to do that after all that I've proven for you. I get it. I also get the age and all that stuff, but this guy's different. He's different.
Could we play a little game?
What would happen? We still have not moved on from this.
Would you like to play a game? What do you like? Let's just play it out. Like, what happens 2020 or February 2020? They move on from the coaching staff. They say we're going to keep Tom Brady. We're putting just everything into Tom Brady. We're going to bring in a new coach.
Move on from the coaching staff.
Yeah, let's just they chose Tom.
I didn't see that coming.
In 20, after 20.
I feel like Josh McDaniels would have been the coach.
Okay, sure. That's what we're playing. That's what we're playing. But how does that play out? Brady's got 3 more years. Do they get back to the Super Bowl, you think, or do they?
With Brady, anything's possible. No, I'm serious.
Yeah. No, I don't.
It is.
It's just an interesting.
I get it. It's a sliding doors.
A re-energized Brady, you did this for me.
I mean, the 2019.
He would be all in.
Whose honor?
Who's your honor? Your family's honor.
Andy brought that up yesterday. I don't know. It's a sliding doors kind of thing of what they would have done with 3 more seasons. I mean, even after that 2019 team, we all know what the 2020 team looked like. Was there any way that they could have somehow made it work a little bit?
There's always
hard.
a way.
It would have been really hard.
But you had 2 very, I don't know, I want to say stubborn, but set in their ways people in Brady and Bill. And it just wasn't going to work.
Yeah. Demir Bird wouldn't have moved the Brady's needle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that team getting back. Based on what we saw personnel-wise in 19, it's hard to imagine that team getting to the Super Bowl in 20 with Brady. Now, the other thing, you can look at what actually did happen. With 20, we had to reset everything. And, so would that have been a reset year even more exacerbated by the fact that you had to re-sign Brady and give him $25 million, which reportedly was what he was looking for? And so, no, I don't think they would have. Yeah. But I agree with Fred. You can't rule it out.
Just $25 million, that's it?
God.
Neil in New Brunswick, I caught a little of the playbook with guest hosts Sean from Vancouver and Todd from North Carolina. Sean, I thought, did great. He was honest, not afraid to give his opinion. He even had some jokes. Todd was Todd, the Eric of callers.
Oh, wow.
We like the caller on caller crime.
We do, because that way we don't have to do it.
I was quite surprised by Fred on Tuesday defending Joe Judge so much. Can't we just say thank you to him like we were instructed by Fred on Matt Patricia and move on? The Giants did you a huge favor taking this guy from you, and you bring him back. Why? We talk about Bill trending towards players who would be suited for the NFL game 20 years ago. Does he have the same flaw with coaches?
I think, for me, the thing with Joe Judge with Bill is that, like you said yesterday, Joe Judge knows football. Joe Judge is a good football coach in the respect of He understands X's and O's. He knows techniques. He knows the game, and he's experienced in that regard. I think the one disconnect that I think we all see with Joe Judge that maybe they don't agree with or just don't think is true or whatever is that he the people person. Like he's not. It's a personality thing. It's a relationships thing. No one's denying that he knows that Joe Judge is an experienced, good football coach. He's been coaching football at the NFL level for 15 years. Like, no one's saying that that's not the case. I just, you wonder about him. And yesterday, I gotta admit, like, hearing him barking out orders and stuff like that again, I was like, I don't know. Like, that's just not, it's just not really. You look at how the other coaches do it, even just on this team. You just don't hear that type of stuff.
Well, I don't know. Special teams has always been that way. You know, they get their moment. You know, okay, 7s and 7s and special teams. You know, and they have to make honestly they have to make the most.
That's fair.
They have to make the most out of that time, and it's always like one guy barking. You know,
and I will say this for Fred's point.
Brilliant.
For special teams, just by definition, it's more spread out. So you do kind of have to have a little bit of a louder voice.
Yeah.
But I also think what Evan's talking about is true. It's like there's a difference between like Brad Seeley, you need to know who to block. Like you could hear his voice ringing through the stadium.
Right.
But with Joe Judge, it just always seems like he's screaming at somebody.
And then like it's about everything. Like it's one thing to just say like hey, you go
I
over.
said no tomatoes. You know, it's just like he's yelling at everybody all the time.
Spee and Fresno, for each of you, what one feature of Mac's game is most important to improve if he's to notably exceed his rookie season performance? What one?
I don't know. Performance under pressure.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I would too. Pocket presence /
games on the line.
Poise.
How do you play?
Yeah, I would say with that comes the recognition. You know, like under pressure, are you recognizing what's happening?
Yeah, you're on point.
You know.
So you're talking about like clutch.
Yeah, but just
But also-
it doesn't even have to be like game-winning drives. It just has to be like, look, the tenor of the game right now is that your team needs a
Consistency,
drive.
like the
and
4 quarters of like Minnesota last year, great, and then nothing in the fourth quarter. 4 quarters of high level.
I just wanted to, because I also think that performance literally under pressure is something that he could be a lot better at. So I just wanted to clarify the line.
But I think like look, and maybe he's looking for like arm strength or like those kind of like technical, like physical attributes. None of it matters. Like it's just performance.
He throws the ball well enough.
He throws the ball well enough. He has enough athletic talent to play in the. He can.
That
Matt
I
can
don't
play
know
in this
about.
league. Matt can play in this league.
He throws the ball well.
He can
enough.
play in this league. I will say that.
If he's given the structure around him, he throws the ball well enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
Now, can he do if it breaks down? I don't think he has that skill set.
I think like when you look at guys like Kirk Cousins or Jimmy G or Derek Carr, like I think Mac is in the same physical ballpark as those types of guys. But those types of guys don't always have what Deuce is looking for, right? They don't always have the moxie.
Secret
so
sauce.
Yeah, I would say though I think that's a pretty good group that you just came up with off the top of your head. I would say just player for player, I would put Jimmy G and Carr athletically ahead of Cousins and Mac. And I would probably put Mac 4th on that list in terms of overall skill set. Now, where he makes up for it, hopefully,
We're told.
and we'll see it,
Yeah.
is with his aptitude and his ability to understand what they're doing.
And that's the thing. If that's his superpower, let's see it.
Yeah.
Now,
under pressure, what's his decision making?
for as inconsistent as some of those guys have been, now I don't think Cousins has been great under the gun. Now he has some like last second wins under his belt, but not big game wins under his belt.
Maybe the one against the Patriots was the biggest one.
Right. Derek Carr is a guy who has been pretty good in tough spots at times, just not consistently enough. Jimmy, it's all health.
Yeah.
So that's a different sort of.
I just wonder,
bucket.
like, and this could be a question for the panel, like if Mac, let's say Mac ends up being Kirk Cousins, like that's. Would you rather 10 years of Kirk Cousins, or would you rather keep trying for the Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, right?
Well, the thing is,
But I'm
I'd
biased.
rather,
You guys know what I think of Kirk Cousins.
if Kirk Cousins had Bill Belichick as his head coach, would he have won
Yeah.
a championship by now?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
That's the
No.
Then I want to keep
I don't know if he would have won a
championship.
championship. I don't know if he would win a championship, but I think Bill with Kirk Cousins is a playoff team every year. Like I think the Vikings are a playoff team almost every year with Kirk Cousins.
That's what I mean. I want championships. I want a quarterback who's good enough to, doesn't have
this guy.
I want a quarterback who can win us a championship.
Yeah. And I am assuming the panel thinks that Kirk Cousins is not capable.
No, I don't
I'm
know.
not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
I'm saying if he's
I think I'm probably lower on Cousins than the panel.
If Bill can win a championship with him, then I'm okay with Kirk Cousins. But you're saying no.
Yeah. I've got recency bias like I always do, but Kirk Cousins played out of his mind against the Patriots last year, so I have.
I just watch against other teams.
That's the thing, though, is like, and the reason why I bring up Kirk Cousins is because I think that
How do you look against the Giants in the playoffs at home?
He's a pretty volatile quarterback. I think you either really think he stinks or you think that he's better than people think. And I don't necessarily know if I think he's better than people think, but I think he's good enough. And I just look at Mac, and I think that he can be.
You're probably right about Cousins. He's probably good enough.
Yeah, especially when you're throwing to Justin Jefferson.
I'm okay with a good enough quarterback.
But he's probably, my stubbornness aside, he's probably good enough. I just think he's one of those guys that, what do I need him for? If I have everything else, I can put anybody in there.
Right.
And I would say anybody's good enough.
Well,
short of like Zach Wilson.
I mean, he's the poster child for this kind of quarterback.
Yeah,
Like
it used to be Andy Dalton.
The
now
minimum acceptable guy that you can talk yourself into that maybe we have a chance this year.
Andy Dalton's another great one.
Yeah.
Those Bengals teams that he inherited his first 3-4 years
A.J. Green,
were
Tush Mazada.
excellent teams.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, he's really good. I fell into it.
Yeah.
So I'm not even making fun of anybody. I'm making fun of myself. I thought he was part of that. Now, the rest of his career has told us he was along for the ride.
Right.
Like, based on what he's done since he's not had that kind of ability around him. And I think Justin Jefferson's probably a pretty good top there.
I tend to lean, into the Mac truther side of things. Like, I tend to be on Mac's side on a lot of things. But even I can recognize 2 years in that is Mac ever going to be a generational, elite MVP caliber quarterback? Like, I don't think so.
Is he ever going to be the reason you win?
Right.
No.
You can put it that way, too.
And you might say that's okay. I don't need my quarterback to be the reason I win. I think Bill would probably subscribe to that theory.
I can't talk myself into that, but what I could talk myself into is that maybe it just all clicks and they get the right offensive coordinator. They might not have a number one, but they've got enough variation in their receivers and backs and weapons and all that stuff to make it, and that it all clicks at once. And there's nobody who's the superstar, but I still think that is possible. But I honestly I question it now in this league with guys like Mahomes and just the talent level at the quarterback position and how quickly teams can score. And I mean, it feels like if you don't honestly go into the playoffs feeling like our team could maybe score at any minute if they had to, like we're a play away to score. Like I don't. It's hard to win in the league this year if you don't feel that way. You don't have that.
David writes in, it's the off season, so it's the only time to ask these questions. Fred has a laptop in front of him, and it looks like Evan has a mouse and keyboard in front of him. Well, not right now. I was just wondering what those were for.
Did you have them
I'm reading your email off of it. That's what it's for. Another note, maybe you should give Mike a keyboard so he can stop unscrewing that pen.
Dude, I'm so conscious of I fiddle. I fiddle with this thing.
Yeah.
I fiddle with this
I guess
thing.
he thinks my phone was a mouse, maybe.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, I kind of. I could see with the
Death Star.
Yeah.
I like to have just a roster, so I have a visual cue of guys.
Yeah, you're a printout guy.
That's all I need in front of me in case I'm trying to think of somebody's what player, and then I can. But otherwise, I don't like to have stuff to get distracted.
I'm with Mike. I'm big on having the stuff in front of me when there are specific things that I feel will come up in the show.
I love when you do printouts.
And I have
a research.
Because sometimes there's some
glasses on.
Grandpa needs the readers.
Hold please.
Yeah. So sometimes this I knew today we were just going to be talking about what we saw yesterday. So I didn't.
It's all up in the
that's
steel
in the
trap.
That's in the steel trap. Now ask me about it in 3 weeks. Forget about it.
It's gone.
You asked me about what happened in 2002's OTA.
2002 OTA. I mean, that was great.
Rashad Baker, the touchdown maker. I'll tell you about him.
The phones are stacked up. 855-PATS-500. Let's go to the UK where Claire is on the phone.
Oh, there she is.
What's up, Claire?
Hi, Claire.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Marie.
Hey, girl.
Fred, have you read out my emails? Because I've missed a little bit in between.
No.
Emails?
Okay, cool.
Is that plural?
No, I haven't read your
just
email.
One. No, just one. Just one. Firstly, I need to agree with Deuce on Barringer. I think he's yeah, he's my guy. He's kind of sneaky sexy. I think he's the thing this year, so I'm really excited about that they took
You
a
like
footstep.
you like
So that's
guys in
really cool.
glasses?
Well,
Well, I
Claire,
don't
you know, I
know.
do have my
Thinking
readers
about
back
it.
in my office.
I
made her giggle.
Chicky monkey.
Yeah, well, when Pixie was on my show, we talked about it, and I hinted that I think maybe Berenger is sneaky sexy, and he maybe an adult movie star.
That took a turn.
Oh, he's got a stash. I
He
should
did,
say
him and Jimmy G.
PSA Behringer. It's not Behringer.
Not Behringer.
There's like- yeah, just
What's
for-
Behringer? That's a thing, right?
Yeah.
That's like a company or something
I
like
don't know.
that.
I knew a kid
Oh, I
named Behringer,
apologize.
but yeah, I'm just telling
Okay.
for everybody.
My question was, there's no tight end coach on staff on like Patriots.com website, and I just wondered if you'd heard anything about, is it Will Leving?
Yeah.
'Cause I'm gonna
Will
pronounce his name wrong as well.
Lawing. The law.
Like you're mowing the lawn.
The
Me and
law.
names aren't good today.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a young dude too. He's like he seemed like he's fresh off college or something, but yeah, no, he's there.
Well, Joe Judge will be the
Because
tight
he's
end
not
coach.
officially on the website, so he's definitely the tight end coach, so he's out there who's with Gesicki.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
oh, yeah.
They said Bill said yesterday, very nice
We'll
of him
get
to let us know that they'll get around to announcing
Soon.
the coaching staff soon.
So
Maybe one of us will
in
get
all
to write it.
seriousness, he did add something along the lines of we're still working through some things
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
Which maybe was just a throwaway line that didn't have any meaning, but I don't think he has a lot of those.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think usually when he
Oh,
says
so the job
something,
might still be open.
well, no, not about tight ends, just about the titles and the staff. You just keep your tight end
Maybe-
infatuation in check.
Yeah, it drives PR crazy because they need to print the media guide, and they that's always the last thing they're waiting for.
I
is
imagine there's
the
one
title.
person in PR in particular. Who
Oh
could
yeah.
ask-
Oh yeah. Thanks, Claire. Good to hear from you. Dan in Virginia and Michigan. What's up, Dan?
First off, Fred, I wanted to say congratulations to Paul on his boy graduating. I've got mine's coming up next year, so I know that there's a lot of work that goes into that.
It's gonna get dusty in
So,
here now.
Don't get sad.
Thank you
well
very
done
much.
there, Paul.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the most
Getting
beautiful
verklempt.
week of weather we've had so far this season. But that's all going to come to a screeching halt, evidently, on Saturday when it's going to be 58, rainy, and windy.
Yeah, we have Red Sox.
When I
too.
have
It's
100
not
people
looking
coming
good.
to my house.
Still got the pool open though?
Are you
Pool's
having a
open.
graduation party at your house?
Yeah.
Oh.
None of us
Just
got
for
it.
family, though, not for
None of
for
us
his
got
friends too.
invited.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you ready for that?
And just my friends.
How many 30 racks you get?
No, I'd be ready for it on a day like today. We'd be fine.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing about Saturday, I have no idea what Beth and I are going to do.
Can all be in the
My house is not big enough for the amount of people that will be there.
Well, I'll get a heated tent.
I don't have your estate.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I don't have a
we're
pool
discussing-
anymore, Paul. You have a pool.
Still hear about Fredapalooza.
Fredapaloozas were legendary.
We had good stuff. We had good times. Good times. Yeah. What else, Dan?
I was going to say, don't hang up
Yeah,
on
so
them.
you were discussing coaching shortcomings before, Patricia, Judge, and so forth, and it seems a big part of their failure to go anywhere with their other teams, and this goes all the way back to McDaniels and to some extent even Bill O'Brien, is that it's the people skills. It's not the football skills. It really seems to be that these guys just don't do well with people, and to some extent that was even part of Bill's problem back in Cleveland, was that he just didn't get along well with people. Is that something particular to New England, that we've got a lot of guys that just don't play well with others?
Well, I think we were kind of talking about Joe Judge in that respect.
NFL catches?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Well, when you're a young coach like McDaniels was when he went to Denver, and you make big changes like he did at the quarterback position, it's tough. It better work.
He's doing it again.
Yeah, it better work, or you lose some guys.
Right, but I would never characterize Josh as a guy who is not personable.
No, no.
Same with like Gerard Mayo.
No.
And a lot of the coaches, and it's like I don't think of Bill O'Brien as not being personable.
No.
But I think Joe Judge has that reputation of being a little bit.
And Patricia,
rough.
Famously went to Detroit and with the sprinting and telling people they don't have any rings and he's got rings and all that
He
stuff.
made them run.
But again, I think that's an error in leadership, not necessarily a personality. I think that the similar mistake that a lot of the guys have made is they've all tried to emulate Bill. They've all tried to be ruling from above with an iron fist.
Right.
one problem. You don't have the rings that validate that.
Right. If Bill couldn't do it at Cleveland, and
Yeah, Bill.
And if
Bill
2000
tried to be like Parcells, and you didn't have the personality.
I mean, that's a great point. Like, Bill was probably no different personality-wise in Cleveland than he is now.
Right.
But he's able to succeed now without being the most personable person that we've seen because he's won.
Right.
And I mean, you hear the guys talk about it like, he's one of the best. He's done this. He's done that. And his track record speaks for itself. Yeah, so there's like, automatic respect that's attached to that.
I think Vrabel's an interesting person because he's got he's a ball buster, but like
very
there's
personable,
endearing about him, and that's just I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. The bottom line is is your team gonna listen to you and buy into it?
You're in charge of 53 guys, plus practice squad, plus the coaches, and they need to think that you know what you're talking about. Because if they don't think you know what you're talking about, you just lose the room. So you have to have that gravitas, and if you don't have it right away, then you better know what you're talking about and eventually get results, or people they want to win.
Yeah. Well, that's what you hear young coaches talk about. Young coaches who are, thrown into a room maybe with guys that are older than you as a coach, and I've heard some, people just saying like the players just want to know that you're putting them in position to succeed, that you're helping them be successful.
If I listen to you, I'll get better.
Yeah.
And we'll win.
And if they do, they start to earn the trust, and then it builds. And
Yep. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Willem and Phillum. What's up, William?
Oh, nice.
Hey, what's going on, Fred? How you doing?
Good.
Okay. Have a question for Evan. Why not? Evan, are you familiar with the quarterback from USC named Caleb Williams? Am I saying his name correct?
You are. Yes.
You ever heard of him?
Not once upon a time.
Even Deuce has.
I asked Deuce the other day. if he
Even
heard
Mike
it.
knows who that is.
What's up?
All right,
Yep.
just hear my take on it, Evan. Don't be sucking your teeth and rolling your eyes and like you always do when somebody say something. Please.
Sucking your teeth.
All right?
I like that.
All right, okay. So let's say the Patriots, they're like they go 8-9 again or 9-8, whatever. Though Mac just can't get us over the hump, right? And that's just another loss on Bill too. On top of that, do you see a scenario where Bill just said, "All right, you know what? I just mixed it, forget it. Let's just go in for the number 1 draft pick and try and trade up and just, it might take 3 first-round picks, a couple of 2s, I don't know, 3 future stuff, I don't know. But do you see like a scenario where Bill would do something like that?
No. I don't see a scenario, then you guys can disagree with me, where Bill would give up significant draft capital for one player. Ever.
So we're 8-9, picking around
14
or
and you have to go
15.
up to 1.
That's hard to get up high enough for that. I would agree with that.
I think the only way to get him is that you
stink.
You lose a couple. See, you don't have to stink. You can, instead of going 8-9, if you even 7-6 gets you top 10.
Yeah.
Now I'm not closing that door. I agree with Evan. 15-1, that's a lot.
Well, you just
but
look
if it's
at
like 8-1.
Maybe.
That might be something a little bit more palatable.
What the Panthers, they were right around that, 8 or 9-1. And now it's for Bryce Young, who is nowhere near the prospect that Caleb Williams is. So to get that guy,
it's unlikely.
I don't know.
It's
You're
unlikely.
going to have to give up, a real king, the whole farm.
Yeah. So what do you do? I mean, I heard you talking about Kirk Cousins, and I'm like, he's been tearing the NFL's pockets up. No, he's not the answer. No. So you want something better than Mac or even Kirk Cousins. But my question to you, Evan, you the football analyst and everything. So I'm just trying to get your input. What do? We went 89. We went 8-9 again. Bill can't do it ever again, and so that's a strike on Bill. Mr. Kraft is gonna be pissed off because you didn't make the playoffs. What do we do?
I think my opinion only, and then you guys can all, again, disagree. If I were the Patriots at that point, I'd be going for a veteran quarterback. I don't really have any interest in going back into the rookie well again, in trying to, at best what you're trying to do is what you're trying to do now, which is win with all the other parts and all, and everybody pulling together and not just the quarterback. like a trade for another or a move for a veteran. There's always one veteran that moves in the offseason. This year it was Aaron Rodgers. Last year was Russell Wilson. Like whoever that ends up being, that's what. Especially if Bill's going to still be the coach. I don't really have much interest in Bill trying to groom another young quarterback because
He doesn't have the time.
He doesn't have the time, and he also just I don't know if he connects with this generation well enough because as much as you can call Mac Jones a baby and you can call Mac Jones, his pouting and his tantrums, like guess what? Like that's a lot of athletes are going to be wired that way nowadays. And if they get Caleb Williams here, they get Drake May here or one of these, KJ Jefferson, and it doesn't go well right out of the gate and there's some friction there, it's going to be the same story. So I just have really no interest in going back in the draft for a quarterback. I would at that point try to maximize the last 2 or 3 years that Bill has with a proven veteran guy. That's just me, though.
Just one more thing, and then I'm out your way and whatnot. I'll just try to put this all in one, though. Well, in terms, for Mac Jones, though, I get it, the pouting and all that, though, but the man wants to win. I think that's his frustration. He really wants to win, and he sees how things is, and he can see it from his perspective as a quarterback. If they was on the same, I ain't saying that Mac should be on the same page with them, but I don't know. They just need to come together. The Patriots also, they just too much in the news. It's always something. They've been in the news like 2020 season. It was always something. The Patriots this, y'all was telling us everything from OTAs all the way up to that. And now here we are again, starting off on a bad foot with Joe Judge. He shouldn't even be nowhere near the team, but I'm going to leave that alone, though. But I'll leave it at that, fellas. But, I just want to know what will we do? That's all, though. But y'all have a good one. Have a nice weekend. Y'all take care, okay?
It's a tough question. I mean, in some ways, it's like we've always talked about. It's hardest to be in the middle. Like decisions are easy when you're a 3-4 win team or a 3 or 4 win loss team.
If it was easy, every team would do it.
You keep blasting out 8-win season after 8-win season. Yep. You know what? Eventually, you're going to have to say, look, we might have to bite the bullet and take a half step back to get past this mediocrity that we've had a few.
Well, I think Williams' point is that, or you bite the bullet and sell the farm to get that guy.
Yeah.
No,
I don't. I mean, if you get to that point, I wouldn't be against it.
Alan in Texas, I've been listening to the show for 8 or more years, and I really enjoy the football information as well as the entertainment. When Andy left, I was a bit concerned on who would provide the entertainment. He seemed to be able to start an argument over any topic. That being said, the new lineup is fantastic. Deuce has the fanboy energy that is contagious, and Evan's knowledge is very informative.
Fan man.
Fred, your humor at times is subtle genius. Paul has the knowledge and the Italian attitude that I grew up with. My question is this: how much of being a coordinator is an art form? Well, that's a kind of a segue. How much is knowledge of the game? Which do you think is more important? Is the art form harder to teach, and is that what separates a good coordinator from a mediocre one? Well, Andy always said that calling plays is more of an art.
Sure.
While a lot of the other stuff is science. And that's the thing. Like I've always talked about coordinator. Different teams have different roles for that title. Like there's the architect of the offense, there's the guy who comes in with the game plan, and then the guy who calls the plays. And sometimes it's all the same. And that's a true coordinator. Somebody who does all three things. But as we've seen, that's not always the case on all teams. Like sometimes the guy calling the plays isn't necessarily the guy architecting the offense,
And some teams don't even have the architect of the offense on staff, like us.
What do you mean?
It's Josh McDaniels didn't design that offense. Bill O'Brien didn't design that offense.
I know, but I'm just talking about the architect of
Evan. Who designed the offense?
This edition of the offense, this year's offense.
How far back you want to go?
Yeah.
Perkins Airhart.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm just talking about, who's in charge of the offense this year? Like, the overall, this is what our offense is going to look like this year. It's Bill O'Brien.
Yes.
It's Bill O'Brien.
And that's what I've always, wanted, and Josh was this through and through. The head coach of the offense. So you're not the head coach of the whole team like Bill, but Bill O'Brien is the head coach of the offense. It's his vision, it's his play sheet, it's his group like that. And that's, I think, when this team has thrived, it's been Charlie Weiss, it's been Josh McDaniels, it's been Bill O'Brien. It's been when they've had
totally agree.
that guy.
Right.
And I think most teams have that. There are some like Kansas City that Andy Reid is the head coach, but he's
Yeah.
that guy. He's the head coach of the offense.
Yeah.
But most teams have a guy.
Yeah.
I do think the question is interesting, though, just the different philosophy kind of on the offensive side of the ball versus the defensive side of the ball. Jokes aside, I mean, I would think it was probably a very interesting interview just to talk to Matt Patricia about the different mindset of offensively trying to be creative and trying to, put the defense in a pickle. You can't really be creative in play calling. Like, I think the creativity in defense is probably set up before the game. But, it's almost a level of anticipation that you have to have on defense.
That's what I think Bill, still to this day, I think that's Bill's biggest strength.
Seeing what's going on out there.
Adjusting to what's going on.
But
how many times do you see them go, the other team goes right down the field on him, and then all of a sudden he turns his back to the field for like the next 2 minutes. He talks to the defensive players, and they come out, and it's like totally different.
Again. Right. Yeah. But, going back to young coaches, if I were to give, advice to any young coach, I'd say don't be afraid to hire coordinators who are smarter than you. If it's your first time being a head coach, focus on that and not being the architect of the defense. Hire really strong coordinators, and eventually maybe you don't need them. Then you can start, while you have these, experienced guys, you're grooming young guys to eventually take their place. But get people around you that have more experience than you do, so that you can focus on being a head coach.
Yeah, and I don't know if they had more experience than Bill, but like some of the staffs that the Patriots have had in the dynasty run are just ridiculous. Like you look back at the 2014 and 2016 when Scar came back. I mean, it's crazy. It's like Brian Dable was coaching tight ends on that staff. It's and you go down the whole list. These guys that are now coming up to being like head coaching candidates were like low level assistants on those staffs. Like that, those types of staffs you can tell why they were so successful. They were loaded.
But even when Bill came here, he had Romeo Crennel. He had Charlie Weiss. Yeah. He had, Brad Seeley. I don't know when Seeley was here.
Yeah, Brad Seeley.
Scar, Ivan Fears.
Yeah, these are all guys that
Scar
had
and Fears
really
were on that.
A lot of experience. Yep. And so by having those guys, the young guys could learn under them.
And to Evan's point, Josh McDaniels and Brian Dable were coaching assistants.
Right.
Yeah.
And they learned.
Matt Patricia was a coaching assistant. Those guys, that's how they learned.
Right.
You're speaking to another point of, they've lost a lot of those guys. And now are these young guys that have been kind of added over the last couple seasons, the Evan Rothsteins, are those guys going to develop into those kind of caliber of coaches?
The most recent exodus forced some of the coaching assistant types into positional roles, probably before they were ready for them. And I think that's been part of, I mean, I'm not saying it's like an underrated part because people talk about it a lot, but I do think it is a big part of the struggles. It's not just Tom Brady left, they're frauds. It's not, nothing is ever that simple.
But it's an opportunity for like Mayo, Covington, those kind of guys that, are now really starting to get noticed around the league.
Do you think Steve Belichick is a much better coach today than the guy who went in front of the safeties and said, my dad told me I was coaching safeties last week?
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Of course he's grown into that.
Yep.
Ray's in Washington. We'll finish up the show with your call. What's up, Ray?
So I'm wondering, with Evan posted something on his Twitter earlier that was throwing Mac a bomb to Taekwon. I want to know how far that went.
About 40 yards, I would say.
In the air.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The play itself was about
50.
Well, it would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
No, there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Bedard just retweeted it, by the way, and said this was not against air.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's hating.
But I think that he's probably
on my
backing us up because he's probably listening.
Yeah. Hey, Greg. Everybody's hating. It's just it's a clip from the spring. All right, we don't need to. No one's saying they're winning the Super Bowl because Matt completed the pass to Taekwon Thornton on May 31st. Thank you. Goodbye. Thanks for the call.
All right, Ray. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Whoa,
all right,
this guy.
That's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. Stay tuned for Catch 22 with Evan and Alex. More overreaction to the OTA. We'll be back next week. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.